Welcome. We're going to get started shortly. This is a talk around cooperative education and Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program within the OCDSB high schools. My name's David Hubbard, and I'm the co-op and OYAP coordinator. So we're going to get started in a couple minutes. We're just going to give people a chance to enter. All right, I think we're okay to get started here. So thank you for joining me today. If you didn't get a chance to hear, my name's David Hubbard. I'm the co-op and OYAP coordinator. I'll do my best to give a spiel here that fits within our 15-minute time frame to give you some info about co-op and OYAP and what those opportunities can mean in high school. So right away, we're talking about experiential learning. So co-op is all about getting yourselves out in the community. It's a course like any other. It's credit bearing, you're earning credits, but the difference is instead of the focus being solely inside of the classroom, it integrates community experiences through workplace learning. So you have the opportunity through co-op to test drive a career you might be interested in, and to learn more about it, to gain some hands-on work experience and employability skills that can help you be marketable in the future, and to discover new strengths and skills about yourself and find your own passions and interests, both inside and outside of the classroom. So that's a little bit about co-op, right? But the idea is that it's a learning experience, right? We really want this to integrate classroom theory and learning experiences out in the community through a work placement. So the typical structure that you'll see in a cooperative education course is that for the first few weeks, students are doing pre-placement learning. So this is in class every day with a strong focus on health and safety in the workplace, as well as job readiness skills and pursuing your own passions and interests. And from there, once those pre-placement requirements are completed, students can go out and begin a placement out in the community where they spend the majority of their time for the course out there at the work placement. That said, there are integration days where, usually once a month, students are coming back from the co-op placement to come back to the classroom and do some learning together and do some reflection and consolidate the experience that they're having out in the community. And each one of these placements is designed to be, something that's of interest to the students, that aligns with their goals and their interests and passions. And our co-op teachers and our board really work hard and collaborate with families and students to make sure that students are getting the right fit for placements out in the community. So who can take co-op, who can start this journey, right? This is available for anyone in high school. So typically we see students in grade 11 and 12, accessing these opportunities. But ultimately it's a course that they would enroll just like any other course in high school, right? There's the mandatory credits that students are required to take, and then there are elective credits that they have options to take. And these would fall under some of those elective credits that they can take. And it's really designed for anyone that's interested in pursuing any one of these things, right? We talked about job readiness training. We talked about learning about our strengths and interests. But beyond that, there's a lot of benefits for students going into co-op, whether that's, exploring learning in a different setting outside of the school, right? Whether that's trying to develop specific skills that they have goals in obtaining, whether that's exploring pathways and figuring out which pathways are most interesting and potentially available to them in terms of stuff they want to do in the future, building new relationships, getting those transferable skills, and you're leaving with a lot of credentials on your resume, whether that's work experience that you can talk about in future interviews and put down on the resume. You're also earning industry recognized certifications that can really help you be marketable and help prepare you for the workforce. And it can also really help you get a head start on certain careers if you know exactly what you want to do. So whether you're exploring options for the future or whether you're looking at something that you want to do and getting a head start, like co-op is really a great fit for anyone. And part of co-op is the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. It's an extension of cooperative education with a focus on apprenticeship pathways. So OYAP is just like co-op, right? Anyone who's in co-op but working in a skilled trade apprenticeship pathway would become part of this program, this Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. And students who are doing co-op and in these apprenticeship pathways are entitled to additional supports and things like that that can really help them set themselves apart and get a head start on these apprenticeships while in high school. There are some requirements in order to participate in the OYAP program. So this differs from co-op, right? In co-op, you don't have to be 15 years old in order to participate, but in OYAP, you have to be 15 years old. And you need to have earned at least 14 credits before participating. So this is, again, something we typically see grade 11 and 12 students participating in once they're 15 and have had those 14 credits earned on their credit counseling summary. That said, construction placements, we still have to follow occupational health and safety requirements. So, placements of this nature would require students to be 16 years old. But other than that caveat, you would have to be 15 in order to be in the OYAP program. And why OYAP? There's so many reasons for OYAP, but some of the big highlights are there are so many job opportunities right now in the skilled trades. Almost half the workforce right now is eligible to retire, and we don't have enough people to go in and fill those spots. So there's a huge demand right now, and there's a lot of opportunities. And these are really, really high-skilled, meaningful, lucrative positions that can really help students be successful for a life. And it's a great way to get a head start on the career. So if students know exactly that they want to be in a specific apprenticeship, and that's the career that they want to pursue in the future, there's a lot we can do at the board and at the schools to support that student in getting really, really strong reach ahead opportunities and advancing in that apprenticeship so that they're graduating set up for success on that pathway. So the 4 sectors that we see in apprenticeship that students can, get positions in are construction, industrial, motive power, and service. And within these sectors, there are 144 different skilled trades. So a really cool opportunity to start exploring what's out there and what opportunities are there that might be of interest. And if any of these pathways are, something that is, something that you're really, really interested in after, we can do a lot to support you. So talking to your guidance counselors, talking to your co-op teachers, connecting with me at the board in order to get some supports in this area, we can really help you. And some of those supports can look different for each person, but whether you need personal protective equipment, some students need steel-toed boots, hard hats, welding helmets, equipment to be successful out in the community and at their placements. We try our best to support with that and provide funding for, so those, access to opportunities are still available. There's also transportation funding and support, right? Whether that's maybe Presto passes or whether that's gas and mileage reimbursements. And then we're also doing a lot of work in supporting students around certification training and earning really, recognized certifications that industry and employers want to see their employees have as they enter the workforce. So whether that's first aid or working at heights, fire safety or safe food handling, if it fits within your industry and your pathway and apprenticeships, we can do a lot to support you in earning those learning opportunities. So these are some of our construction students going into various different trades like HVAC and masonry and cabinet making. But these construction students are all getting that working at height to help them increase their marketability and help them be, safe and more aware at the work site. And again, some OYAP students getting some training at the local 93 Carpenters Union around fire safety and that kind of learning. So a lot of cool opportunities that are unique to the students' goals and interests. And the pathway for apprenticeship often looks like this, right? You start out by exploring tech and trades. Maybe you're going into grade 9 and 10 tech classes and starting to develop your skills in certain areas. You're starting to look at those 144 skilled trade pathways to see what might be of interest, right? and then you continue to develop those skills for yourself. And then when you're in grade 11 and 12, right, that's when you can start test driving a career and going into programs like OYAP. And we also have some other amazing programs that you might learn about today, like dual credit and SHISM, right, that offer students the chance to get some experiential learning. And then ultimately, you know, for those students that are serious about advancing in this pathway, they're going to want to work towards securing sponsorship from their employer that they're placed with, right? If they can get that sponsorship and have that employer sign them off as an official apprentice, we're no longer trying this out, but this is a career that we have in mind that we're really starting to work on. Getting that sponsorship can lead to really cool reach ahead opportunities while students are still in high school. Part of the apprenticeship pathway has students going to, you know, colleges and training centers in order to do their learning blocks, which are required as part of that apprenticeship pathway. And we can send students to those institutions like Algonquin for those learning blocks while they're still in high school. We can pay for it. We can help with transportation to and from, and provide support around the equipment and the learning so that students can graduate as a sponsored apprentice ready to hit the ground running in that trade and that career. So just to kind of reiterate the pathway, right? You're in co-op, but in a skilled trade, right? And you're trying it out through OYAP. And then if you can progress in that trade and get sponsored by the employer, you'll become an OYAP registrant, and that will lead to some reach ahead opportunities like the dual credit level ones that you would go to Algonquin while still in high school and do your learning towards your apprenticeship pathway. So that's kind of co-op and OYAP in a nutshell, right? I know it's a lot of information in a short amount of time. But if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to answer them. And otherwise, you know, I encourage you to please check out some of the other, you know, sessions that are going on. In a couple minutes, we're going to have some new ones coming out, and there's some great learning opportunities to explore what's available in high school. So I'll stick around for a few more minutes in case there's any questions, but I haven't seen any come in yet. And Rija, do I stop recording in between sessions or do I continue with the one session?
Actually, we're gonna have all of this recorded and then we're gonna have chunks out of it for the actual on-demand sessions.
Okay, so just keep staying in the one feed?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're about to get started with our session here on cooperative education and the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. My name's David Hubbard, and I am the Co-op and OYAP coordinator for the OCDSB. So today we're going to talk all about these programs and what you can access through them while in high school. So for the most part, it's an experiential learning program. It's a course like any other. So co-op and OYAP is a course you would enroll through your guidance counselor, and it's a course you would pick through, your course selection, just like any other course. But the focus of co-op and OYAP is about having students go out into the community and experience a work placement. And it integrates that classroom theory that they get along with that community experience that they'll get through the workplace. So this is an opportunity to test drive a career that students might be interested in and to learn more about them, to get hands-on work experience and employability skills that can help students be marketable for future work, and to discover interests and strengths and skills that they can use both inside and outside of the classroom. So what is co-op? We talked about it a little bit, but ultimately it's a learning experience that like I said, integrates that classroom learning that you're going to get along with an experience out in the community through a work placement. And this is a learning experience that's unique to each student and aligns with their own interests, passions, and goals. And our co-op teachers and our board work really closely with students and families to ensure that students are finding a placement that's meaningful to them, sets them up for success, and aligns with their interests. So the way the course structure typically works for a co-op or OYAP course is that, students will get some pre-placement learning. It starts with about, the first few weeks, students are in class each day learning about job readiness, and they're having a strong focus on health and safety in the workplace. This is an opportunity to learn more about the industry that they're going to get into and get experience in, as well as set them up with credentials that are going to make sure that they're going there aware and safe of how to be successful in the workplace. So we have opportunities for certification training and learning, and students are going to get an opportunity to put some meaningful things on their resume to help them be more marketable. From there, once students have completed that pre-placement requirement, they're spending the majority of their course learning out in the community at a placement. So this is a chance to learn in the industry from the experts who, are willing to mentor our students and pass on that amazing knowledge that they have, and to help get them set up and started in the workforce, right? Whether that's students exploring something that they want to try out and see if it's a right fit, or whether that's students knowing exactly what they want to do in the future and getting more experience to help them in that pathway. And once they're out at the placement, that's not where the in-class learning ends, right? They do have integration lessons. So about once a month, students are coming back to the classroom, doing some learning together, consolidating their experiences from what they've had out in the community, and doing a lot of reflection. So that's kind of the course structure and how co-op works. And this is ultimately for anyone. We typically see students in grade 11 and 12 accessing these opportunities, but co-op is for anyone who can, think that they want to benefit from any of these amazing qualities that you can get from co-op. So we talked about job readiness training. We talked about, self-reflection and learning more about your strengths and interests and skills. But there's so much more that you get out of co-op, and whether that's students who might benefit from working in a different setting out in the community instead of, inside a school building, it can be really meaningful to get out into the community and get some learning, right? Or whether you're trying to develop specific skills or explore certain pathways to find out what might be the right fit for you in the future. Meeting new people and developing new relationships and mentorship, right? Gaining some transferable skills that can help you in the future, and getting a lot of credentials on that resume that can make you more marketable as a student, right? If you're leaving high school and you have work experience on the resume and you have some certifications that are valued by employers, that's really going to help students get their foot in the door for future opportunities. And co-op and OYAP can also be a great way to get a head start on certain careers if you know what you want to do. So I've mentioned a little bit about OYAP, right? It is an extension of cooperative education. So everything I just said applies to OYAP as well. It's a course that they would take. It's through co-op. It's just focused through the apprenticeship pathway. So for any students that are doing co-op and are placed in a skilled trade or apprenticeship pathway, they are automatically part of this specialized program, and they're entitled to additional supports and opportunities through OYAP that other co-op students might not be able to access. So there are some requirements in order to participate in the OYAP program. Again, we often see students in grade 11 and 12 accessing these opportunities because you do need to be 15 years old, and you need to have successfully completed 14 credits. You have to have earned 14 courses, okay, before you can start, going into OYAP. But there are so many amazing opportunities through OYAP. But the big things that I want to highlight are just there's a huge demand for jobs in the trades right now. These are really high skilled positions, lucrative positions, right? They're high earning salaries, and they're really meaningful careers for students that are interested in that type of work. Okay. And there's just so much demand. About half the workforce right now in skilled trades is eligible to retire. And we don't have enough people coming in and filling in those positions that are being left. So there's a lot of entry opportunities right now. There's a lot of learning opportunities through apprenticeship pathways. And for students that are serious about exploring these options, OYAP can be a really cool opportunity to get that head start, because all the hours that they're logging through their co-op placement at the apprenticeship, that's going to count towards the apprenticeship pathway. And they can even, work towards reach ahead opportunities where they're maybe doing some of their college learning for the apprenticeship while still in high school. So there are four different kind of sectors for apprenticeships: construction, industrial, motive power, and service. And there's 144 different apprenticeship pathways and skilled trade positions within these sectors. Okay, so there's typically a great fit for everyone out there. They just maybe aren't exposed to it yet, right? They don't know about these jobs and these pathways. So having people start to explore this early and seeing what's out there can be really meaningful in realizing opportunities once you're in co-op, right? And if you're in that OYAP program and you find yourself in an apprenticeship placement through co-op, there's a lot of additional supports that you can be entitled to. So, if you need personal protective equipment like steel-toed boots, or maybe like a welding mask or a hard hat, right? We can really help you support you with that personal protective equipment and provide some funding to make sure that you can access that opportunity and that door isn't closed for you. As well, if you need support with transportation, whether that's maybe a Presto Pass to get to and from the placement, or maybe some mileage or gas reimbursements, we can support with that to make sure that you're getting there and you can get there. As well as certain certifications and training that can help you be successful both at the placement, help you be safe and aware at the placement, and help you be more marketable for the future. So whether that's first aid training, whether that's, smart serve, working at heights, or fire safety, each student's placement and pathway is going to be unique to them. And the requirements that they're going to need in order to be successful can vary for, placement to placement. So we work with our teachers and our students to make sure that we're helping them access learning opportunities that are going to help them be successful out in co-op and OYAP. So for example, these are some of our various construction students earning working at heights so that they can go into placements like HVAC or masonry or cabinet making, right? So that they can be successful in those placements and have a bit more training and understanding. As well as OYAP students working at Local 93 Carpenters Union to get some safety training around fire safety so that they can be successful in their placements. So these are just some examples of how we can support students in terms of the learning along their apprenticeship pathway. But typically we see the pathway and the roadmap look something like this, where, students are starting to explore tech and trades. They're starting to look into those 144 skilled trade opportunities. They're going to get, opportunities to explore tech courses in grade 9 and 10. They're going to get opportunities to take careers courses in grade 10 and learn more about these pathways, and continue to develop their skills in that area. And from there, once they've explored, the tech and trades and started developing their skills, they might be ready in grade 11 and 12 to start test driving a career and going into one of our experiential programs like OYAP. And you might have the chance today to learn about some of our other ones like dual credit and SHISM that can also really help students on their pathways. And for students that are test driving this career and they're saying, you know what, I'm really serious about this apprenticeship pathway, and this is the career for me, and I want to get a jump start on it, they can work towards, securing sponsorship from their employer, where their employer basically signs some documents saying, this isn't a student just trying this out anymore. This is a full-on apprentice, and I'm signing documents to reflect that. I'm going to take them on as my apprentice. And for students that can secure that sponsorship and start that apprenticeship while still in high school, there's a lot of reach ahead opportunities we can support with. So, every apprenticeship pathway requires some learning blocks at institutions like a college or a training center or a union center. And we can send students to these institutions to get those learning blocks done while they're still in high school. So every year we're sending students to do their 8 to 10 week learning block at Algonquin College while they're still in co-op, or St. Lawrence College while they're in co-op, and we can help pay for the equipment they need to be successful. We pay for the course, we pay for the transportation, like if students need taxis to and from in order to access that. A lot of supports and funding is available. If students can secure that sponsorship, we can really help them navigate that pathway and move forward so that they're graduating as an apprentice and really, really, really ready to continue in that career once they've left high school. So again, just to kind of reiterate, students in OYAP would be in co-op, right? They're starting as an OYAP participant, meaning that they're trying out an apprenticeship pathway to see if it's the right fit for them. And then for students that are interested, they can try and secure sponsorship and then become an OYAP registrant. Now they're an official apprentice. And once we have that, we can reach those dual credit opportunities, those reach ahead opportunities, and get a really big head start on the apprenticeship pathway. So that's co-op and OYAP. We have a couple minutes left here. If there's any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to answer them. But I just want to thank you all for coming and listening about co-op and OYAP. And if there's no questions, then I really encourage you to check out the next sessions that are going to be starting in about 5 to 7 minutes. How many credits can you get in co-op? Great question. So we typically see co-op scheduled into 2 credit or 4 credit options. So that would have, if it's a 2 credit co-op, that would have students doing co-op for a full afternoon or a full morning. And if it was a 4 credit co-op, it would have students doing a full day co-op placement out in the community. But you can have as many co-op credits as you want. There's no cap on the amount of co-op you can take. Great question. So of those, I'm getting a question about how many of those co-op credits count towards the diploma. So these would count towards elective credits, right? So there's still the mandatory credits that students would have to take in order to earn their OSSD, and any co-op credits they take could count as the elective credits. You're welcome. Thank you again for coming and listening to the presentation. I really appreciate it. So we're now on a 5-minute break, and the next sessions will be starting at 8 o'clock. Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is David Hubbard. I'm the Co-op and OYAP coordinator for the OCDSB, and I will be speaking about cooperative education and Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program today. So co-op and OYAP are both all about experiential learning, and it has students getting some employability skills and workplace experience out in the community through a job placement. So this is an opportunity for students to test drive a career that they might be interested in or seeing if it's a right fit for them. Gaining hands-on work experience and employability skills that can help students be more marketable for future opportunities, and to discover, more about yourself and your strengths, skills, and interests, and how you use them outside of the classroom and in the classroom. But co-op is a course just like any other. So it is a learning experience that earns you credits, right? Just like any other course, except the difference is co-op integrates both classroom theory and learning experience out in the workplace, right? It has you outside of the school setting and learning out in the community through a job site. So the course structure and the way that co-op typically works within our OCDSB schools is that students will have an opportunity at the start of the semester to do some pre-placement learning. So students spend the first few weeks together in class every day doing some job readiness learning, and there's a strong focus on health and safety in the workplace to ensure that our students are set up for success and know how to be safe and aware when out at the work site. And in this, learning, there's amazing opportunities for students to do some self-reflection, to learn more about their interests and passions, as well as what career opportunities are out there that might align and fit with them, right? And they're working really closely with the co-op teachers to make sure that they're setting some goals for themselves and finding a placement that's really meaningful to them, and aligns with their interests and passions. And once those pre-placement requirements have been met, students are able to start out at the placement where they'll spend the majority of their time in the course. So students aren't in the classroom every day, right? They're out in the community, they're out at the workplace, they're gaining skills and attached to a mentor and supervisor who's going to help them learn out in the community. And that's not where the classroom learning ends, right? Every month, students are coming back once per month around there, to do some learning together and to consolidate and reflect on, what their experiences out in the community have been, and to do some more learning together as a class. So that's typically the structure that you see with co-op. And the way it works is you'll often see either a 2-credit co-op or a 4-credit co-op. Both are amazing options, right? If students are in a 2-credit co-op, it usually means that they're in either an afternoon placement, so their full afternoon is out in the community placement, or a full morning, right? Whereas students in that 4-credit option would have the opportunity to do a full day co-op. And who can take co-op? Ultimately, this is for anyone. So everyone has access to this opportunity and this learning, and everyone can take this journey. But we typically see students in grade 11 and 12 access these opportunities once they've gotten a lot of those mandatory credits out of the way. And some of their grade 9 and 10 learning will really help set them up for success for their co-ops in grade 11 and 12. And students are going to get so much out of co-op. It's an amazing course, an amazing experience, and our co-op teachers really work with students to make sure they're getting the most out of it. So we talked about job readiness training. We talked about, self-reflection and learning about strengths, interests, and skills. But there's so much beyond that, right? For students that really benefit from maybe learning in a different setting and getting out of the school environment and into a different environment and learning out in the community, that can be really meaningful, as well as students who want to develop, specific or transferable skills that can really help them for opportunities now and in the future. It can be an amazing opportunity to explore pathways, to find out if, the job you thought was the right fit really was, or to find out more opportunities that are out there that maybe you didn't know exist, right? It's really great for exploration and knowing what's out there, as well as building new relationships, finding new mentors, right? It's going to expose you to new people with new experiences and different perspectives, right? And for students that are leaving high school with that work experience on their resume, with additional certifications and qualifications that can help them be more marketable, it can be really meaningful for setting them up for success in future opportunities in that pathway or other pathways. And it can be a really cool chance to get a head start on a career, maybe if you already know you want something, right? So co-op is amazing and everyone can get something out of it. And I think it really is something that can be explored as a really cool option. And part of co-op is the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. So I talked a little bit about that at the start. Um, I keep using that acronym OYAP, right? And that's what I mean. It's co-op, but with a lens on apprenticeship. So for any student that is in co-op, but doing their placement in a skilled trade or apprenticeship pathway, they're automatically going to be part of this specialized program. And once students are in OYAP, they're entitled to, additional supports, additional benefits, and maybe even some really cool reach ahead opportunities that can help, set themselves apart in that pathway. The difference between OYAP and co-op is there are entry requirements for OYAP. So you do have to be 15 years old in order to participate, and you have to have successfully completed 14 credits. So you've completed 14 courses already before entering the program. So again, you're more likely to see this in grade 11 and 12 once those requirements have been met. That said, for certain placements like in construction, to be on a construction site, the government absolutely requires that you are 16 years old, right? So we don't have a way around those requirements. We believe in those requirements. So, for certain placements, students would need to be older than 15, but that's case by case. But why OYAP? There's amazing opportunities. All those benefits we just talked about that you get from co-op, you also get from OYAP. But there are just so many job opportunities in the trades right now. These are high skilled, intelligent tradespeople that really need apprentices to come on and fill in some of the spots that are now being left, right? Almost half the workforce in the skilled trades is eligible to retire right now, and we don't have enough people to fill in that need, that demand, right? And these are, really meaningful, lucrative careers. And for students that are really interested in this, we can do a lot at the board and at schools to help get them set up, right? And we can get them those reach ahead opportunities to make sure that they're advancing in their apprenticeship pathway and graduating as far in that apprenticeship as they can possibly be. So the way apprenticeships work is there are 4 different sectors. So jobs can fall under construction, industrial, motive power, or service. And right now in Ontario, there's 144 recognized skilled trades within these sectors. Amazing opportunities. There's likely a great fit out there for everyone, but not enough people know about these pathways and these jobs. So starting to do some exploration and knowing what's out there and keeping your eye on these opportunities while you're in grade 9 and 10 and exploring them some more is going to be really helpful for keeping some doors open for when you're in grade 11 and 12 and looking at co-op placements. But for those that are doing the apprenticeship pathway and doing OYAP, we can support in a lot of different ways, whether that's providing, support around personal protective equipment, whether that's steel-toed boots, hard hat, maybe a welding helmet, whatever you need in order to access that learning. We do our best to support you with that. As well as transportation. We understand that accessing these opportunities can be really challenging. So if you need support with maybe getting a Presto to get to and from, or maybe some mileage and gas reimbursements so that, the driving to and from the placement isn't as much of a burden, we can really support with that, as well as certification training and making sure that you're getting learning opportunities that help you in that apprenticeship pathway so that you're better prepared. Whether that's, first aid, smart serve, working at heights, fire safety, safe food handling, it's going to be unique to each student, and the requirements of their placement are going to vary based on, what kind of trade they're doing. But we try our best to support students with their individual pathway and needs. So, this is some of our construction students getting some working at height training that they can bring to their HVAC or masonry or cabinet making placements so that they're better prepared in those industries, as well as some OYAP students getting some training out of Local 93 Carpenters Union so that they have better awareness around fire safety when out at the work site. So these are just examples of some of the types of training that we can provide for students that are in OYAP. And this pathway kind of looks like this ideally, right? So grade 9 and 10 students are starting to explore tech and trades, right? We have the mandatory tech credit that's going to start coming out next year, and students are going to have more and more exposure to tech learning within high schools. They're going to have opportunities to take a careers course in grade 10 and learn more about these pathways and these opportunities that are available, and to continue developing their skills from there, right? And once they've developed their skills, they might be ready in grade 11 and 12 to say, hey, I'm ready to test drive a career. I really want to be a carpenter or a hairstylist, and I really want to try that out. And they can have that opportunity through co-op and OYAP. There's also other amazing experiential learning programs that you might have heard about or will hear about today, like dual credit or SHISM, that can really help them. But for students that are, ready to move on from just test driving the career in co-op, and they're saying, I'm not just exploring this, I'm ready to continue. This is my career of choice, and I want to be an apprentice in this career. Then what they'll need to do is secure sponsorship from their employer. So the employer is basically saying, I'm a qualified, person in this area, whether I'm a journey person or a red seal, right? I'm qualified. I'm going to take you on as my apprentice and sign some paperwork with the government saying that I'm going to train you and you are my apprentice. And for students that can get that sponsorship and secure that apprenticeship while still in high school, there's a lot of amazing reach ahead opportunities we can support them with. So in these apprenticeship pathways, it's required that they do some learning blocks out at institutions like colleges or unions or training centers. And typically these learning blocks are 8 to 10 weeks. Sometimes there's 2 learning blocks, sometimes there's 3. It can vary trade by trade, but these learning blocks are required as part of the apprenticeship, and we can pay for it and send students to these institutions like Algonquin to do the 10-week program while they're still in co-op and while they're still in high school. We pay for the courses, we pay for the equipment, the transportation. There's so much funding and support available when students can secure that sponsorship and move on to those reach ahead opportunities. And that's what we really want for those students that are serious. We really, really work closely with them to support them with their goals and to move forward in that pathway so that they are graduating as a sponsored apprentice and ready to keep hitting the ground running on that pathway. So just to reiterate, you start out as an OYAP participant, you're trying it out. And if you're serious about it, you can move on to an OYAP registrant where you are now a sponsored apprentice. And once you have that, you can move on to those reach ahead opportunities like getting sent to Algonquin while in high school and getting that extra learning, that reach ahead learning for the apprenticeship pathway. So we don't have a lot of time here. We have a couple questions, and I apologize for not getting a chance to answer them yet, but I'll try and work through them here. So how many times during high school can students take co-op and still attend university or college? So co-op would count as those elective credits, right? You have your mandatory courses in credits in high school, and you have your elective credits. So co-op would be counting towards those elective credits, and you can take it as many times as you would like. Do all schools offer co-op, and is it up to the student and family to organize them? So great question. All our schools offer co-op, absolutely. And you're working very closely with the co-op teacher, and it's the co-op teacher who's going to help and support you finding the placement. So it's not, just on families saying, it's on you, find your placement. That's not what we do. We work with our students, and we are finding placements in collaboration with them. Can OYAP be done from any school, or is it just from specialized schools? Great question. So OYAP can be done at any school. It's part of the co-op program. So if you're in co-op and you're in a skilled trade pathway, you are part of OYAP. So every school offers this. Until what age can a student still get into the OYAP program? Example, a student is done with grade 12 general high school and is still under 18, can student get into the OYAP program for an additional term or year? Absolutely. So we do allow students a one returning year in order to be eligible for those level 1 reach ahead programs. So for a student that has graduated and finished grade 12 already, they are able to return for an additional year to try and access that OYAP learning. All right, that's all the questions that I had. So thank you so much for coming and listening about co-op and OYAP. And we're gonna start our 5-minute break here, but I encourage you to check out the next sessions and see what else is there. Thanks again for coming. You're welcome. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this presentation. My name's David Hubbard, and I'm the Co-op and OYAP coordinator for the OCDSB. And today's presentation is on just that, so cooperative education and the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. So first and foremost, both these programs, both operate through co-op, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them, but it's all about experiential learning and getting some students some experience through a job placement out in the community. So this is an opportunity for students to test drive a career they might be interested in to see if it's the right fit for them and what they might want to do in the future. To maybe gain some hands-on work experience and employability skills that can help them be marketable for future opportunities, and to discover, more about yourself and your strengths and interests and skills and how you can use those outside of the classroom, to find something that's meaningful and something you're passionate about. So what is co-op? Ultimately, it's a course just like any other. It's a learning experience in the community where you can earn credits. Co-op integrates classroom theory, so you do some classroom learning, but it also has a heavy focus on learning experiences within a workplace. So the course structure and the way that it typically works in co-op, and every high school offers this, is that students will start out in the course doing pre-placement learning. So at the start of the semester, for the first few weeks, students are going to be doing some learning around job readiness. And there's going to be a strong focus on health and safety in the workplace so that we know our students are set up for success and know how to be safe and aware when they're out in the community and out at the job. There's also an opportunity here to do a lot of career exploration and finding out about different jobs and pathways that might be of interest, as well as to do some self-reflection on your own interests and skills, right? And then from there, once students have met the pre-placement requirements, they can move on to the placement learning. And this is where students will spend the majority of their time in the course, is out in the community, out at the placement. They're going to be attached to a mentor and a supervisor who's going to help them and support them in their learning out in the community, to make sure that they're getting the skills and abilities that'll help them be successful in that position, but future positions as well. And then there's also additional classroom learning that's called integration, where about once a month, students are coming back from the placement to the classroom, and they're doing learning together as a class. So they're doing some self-reflection, they're doing some more career exploration and pathway planning, and getting a chance to share their experiences and to learn more as a group. It's important to know that co-op often is offered in two different options. So 2 credit or 4 credit co-op. 2 credit co-op would have students going either for a full afternoon or a full morning out to the placement every day, whereas that 4 credit option would have them going for the full day for the semester. So both great options and both available, and it just depends on what your student needs. So who can take co-op? Anyone can take co-op. This is available to anyone in any high school. But we typically see students access this in grade 11 and 12. In grade 9 and 10, they often have a lot of mandatory courses that they're required to take. And the learning that they're doing in grade 9 and 10 will help set them up for success for future learning in co-op in grade 11 and 12. But this is ultimately for anyone who wants to benefit from what co-op can give you. So we talked a little bit about job readiness training. We talked about, self-reflection and students learning about their own strengths, interests, and skills. But there's so much more beyond that, whether it's students who might benefit from working in a different setting and getting out of the school building and doing some learning out in the community, or whether it's students who are looking at developing specific skills that they know they want to start getting and developing for future. Whether that's exploring pathways and, getting a chance to sample a career they know they want, or trying out a career to see if it's the right fit, or just gaining experience in a certain field that they're interested in. There's a lot of opportunities for exploration. And building new relationships is huge, right? Getting that mentorship, meeting new people, getting to learn from people who have different experiences and different skills, can be really meaningful. So students are going to get those transferable skills, but they're going to leave high school if they've done co-op with a work experience on their resume. They're going to have industry recognized certifications and training that they can use to help themselves be marketable, that are valued by future employers. And they're potentially getting a head start and getting skills in an area that they know they're going to be working in the future. So all amazing things that co-op can get you. And it's stuff that OYAP can get you too. So OYAP, Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, is just an extension of co-op. It is co-op. The only difference is it has students working, instead of any job placement, they're working in an apprenticeship pathway. So for any students in co-op who are doing a placement in the skilled trades, they would automatically be part of this OYAP program. And if they're part of this OYAP program, they're entitled to additional supports and funding that other co-op students might not be getting. So there are entry requirements for this program. Students have to be 15 years old, and they have to have successfully completed 14 credits already. So finished 14 courses in high school. So we typically see students access this like co-op in grade 11 and 12 once they've met those requirements. I should note that I know it says 15 years old, but for certain placements like the construction sector, you do need to be 16 by law in order to be on site. So we do align with Occupational Health and Safety Act requirements. So it does vary place by place. But the big thing for promoting OYAP here is, beyond all the amazing benefits we talked about that you get from co-op, there are just so many job opportunities right now in the skilled trades. About half the workforce that are in apprenticeship pathways are eligible to now retire. And we do not have enough people to come in and fill that demand. These are really high skilled positions. These are heavily learning pathways, just like university or college, right? It has you doing a lot of learning through institutions. And these are lucrative pathways. So for students that are interested in the apprenticeship pathway, there's something that might be a perfect fit for them, that they can get a head start in high school to really help them set themselves apart and get a jump start on that career and be set up for success, for lifelong success. And it's a great way to get that head start. So we'll talk more about that, but we can send students to do part of their apprenticeship block, like learning block learning, while still in high school, so that they're leaving really advanced in that apprenticeship pathway. So types of apprenticeships, because some of us might not know what apprenticeships are, right? But these are skilled trade pathways, and there are 4 sectors. So construction, industrial, motive power, so transportation, and service. Okay, and of these sectors, there's 144 different jobs that are recognized as apprenticeship pathways. And there's probably something for everyone out there, but we just don't have enough exposure about these jobs, and students don't know that they exist, right? So there's some really cool opportunities for learning that we'll talk about in a second. But for students that are in this program and are doing any one of these trades as their co-op placement, they are entitled to those extra supports like I talked about. So whether they need help with getting personal protective equipment, we can get students steel-toed boots. If they need a welding helmet and mask, if they need, a hard hat, whatever they need to be successful and access that opportunity, we do our best to support that. As well as transportation. We know that can be a huge burden on families in terms of getting to and from the placements and accessing those opportunities. So whether it's needing a Presto pass, or maybe there's, gas mileage reimbursements that we can help out with, we really want to help support students in getting to and from the placement, as well as getting those extra learning opportunities. So if there's ever any chances for additional certifications or learning that will help you in that specific pathway that you're on for apprenticeship, we will do our best to support that. So that could be something like first aid or smart serve, or working at heights, or fire safety. But if it applies to your pathway and it's something that will help you be successful in that placement, we will do our best to support you. So for example, these are some of our OYAP students that are going on to construction placements in things like HVAC or masonry or cabinet making. And these students were able to earn their Working at Heights certification in order to help them. These are some of our OYAP students that were doing some training through the local 93 Carpenters Union, so that when they go out to placement, that they're more aware on fire safety and how to put out fires safely. But that apprenticeship roadmap is something I talked about in terms of like learning opportunities in high school that can help you along the apprenticeship pathway. So typically we see students, starting to explore tech and trades a lot in grade 9 and 10. We have that mandatory tech credit that's coming out. So students are going to have even more exposure to tech. They're going to get to see what those 144 skilled trades are. They're going to be in careers classes in grade 10, learning about these pathways and which ones might be of interest to them. And they're continuing to develop their skills in those grade 9 and 10 courses so that when they're in grade 11 and 12, they might be ready to test drive a career, right? And they can do that through co-op and OYAP. And there's also amazing other programs that you might have heard about today, like dual credit and SHISM. So there's a lot of different programs that they can go into in order to start test driving a career to see if it's right for them. And for those that are in co-op and OYAP and they're saying, I don't want to just test drive this. I know this is for me and this is what I want to do in my future. We can help progress them along that apprenticeship pathway and actually start the apprenticeship. So for someone to actually officially start an apprenticeship, they need to secure sponsorship from their employer. So the employer basically has to, be a qualified person in that trade and sign some documents with the Ministry of Labor saying, yes, me as the employer, I am taking on this student as my apprentice. And once the student has that sponsorship, the world is open to them. There are so many supports and reach ahead opportunities we can help with. We talked about, how learning blocks are required in the apprenticeship pathway. And these learning blocks are typically, 8 to 10 weeks at a time every weekday. You would go to somewhere like Algonquin or a union training center, and you would do that learning every day for 8 to 10 weeks. We can get you into those programs if you have sponsorship. We can pay for the courses. We can pay for the equipment you need to be successful in them. We can pay for transportation and help you get to and from the learning, so that when you're graduating as a full-on apprentice, having already completed some of those mandatory requirements, so you're even that much closer to be a journey person or Red Seal, which just means you are the absolute most qualified you can be in the industry. So that's kind of the pathway in a nutshell, but just to reiterate, you would start out trying it out to see if it's right for you as an OYAP participant. From there, if you're saying, I really want to be an apprentice, this is the career for me, you can work towards getting sponsorship and getting, officially sponsored by your employer. And once you have that sponsorship from your employer, you can access those reach ahead opportunities through places like Algonquin or union training centers while you're still in high school. So that's kind of how OYAP can really help set you apart and make sure that you're graduating far ahead of anyone else that might be trying to enter that pathway. We've got about a minute and a little bit left. If there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A and I'll do my best to answer them. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming and listening to the presentation on co-op and OYAP today. And I think we're done, Reja. Are we okay to stop recording?